Welcome back to Fold in the Cheese. It's your boy K-Troll on the mic today. It's actually Johnny Moxon on the mic today. That's right. This is my poster right over here. That's me. They're putting it up in my sign in my yard. I'm the new starting quarterback. West Canaan Coyotes. Let's go. I'm joined by Ethan Belichick today, who's going to fire himself on the pod. Yeah. So breaking news.
I was going to say that's actually why we're here today. This is the press conference where Bill Belichick, myself, is resigning because we are terrible, and I am fully committing. I do have headphones on.
You have headphones on, yeah. Can't actually hear that well. So
yes.
I was going to say, like, there are people who are like, "Oh, they need to fire him." I'm like, you can't fire Bill Belichick. One does not fire Bill Belichick.
Can we just keep using I mean, you're doing Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I always sometimes when you make the reference, I'm like, does he know he's doing Lord of the Rings? Because if not, that's amazing.
One does not simply. Yeah, there's so many memes on the internet about that.
Yeah. First of all, I love Sean Bean. He's actually not the person who has died the most in movies. That's actually a misnomer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's died a lot, but I think it's Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo's died a lot. So
really?
I might have to Google that. I might have to stat boy.
Our friend Fanachek would definitely know that. He was talking about Danny Trejo, I think, in one of his episodes recently. He would know.
I like Danny Trejo. So yeah, it's going to be one of those classic at the end of the season, mutually decided to part ways and let him retire on his own. It's not going to be in the season. You're going to finish this year. The only thing and don't get me wrong, Bill should be done. He's been great for 23 years or however many it's been. I mean, obviously Brady, I think we're realizing now that it was the greatness of Brady, and Belichick's great too, but it's been the greatest.
It was a combination. Well. It really was a combo.
So right now, and I think I heard Julian Edelman, I don't know if he was talking on the Manning Cast or New Heights or whatever. He was talking about, like, right now, all he's coaching for is kind of like he coaches for big games. It's division championships, it's AFC championships, it's Super Bowls. Like, he coaches for big games. And at this point, he's not coaching for big games. And probably the biggest thing he's looking at is the Shula mark, going for the all-time wins. And I think he's 18 off, coming into the season. Like, oh, that's like 2 seasons. Now it's like, that could be like
5
4
seasons.
So it's tough because, I think he should be done at the end of this year. I don't think he's got it left. He's not a rebuilding coach. We're rebuilding now. It's clear we're done. So
it's a full-blown rebuild. Yeah.
And that's not what he should be doing. That's not his legacy. He's not going to end his career in a whimper. So I think he should I guess you could say this would be a whimper if he went out this year, but it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better magically. So he should be done at the end of this year. It's tough, and it's nothing against what he's done. He's done so much for the Patriots organization, but it's time to be done. And it's clear. Hasn't drafted well ever.
Oh my God, they've never drafted well. Yeah, never. That's true. That's true.
So,
do you think that obviously you're biased, but you may be biased in the opposite direction? But do you think he's the greatest professional football coach ever?
That's a tough question. I am slightly biased, so of course I want to say yes. I just want to say Tom Brady's the greatest player ever because they're my team. But I think, as we just said in the beginning, it was the combination of them two was just unheralded and it's not going to happen again. I don't think. The only close thing would be if like a Mahomes and Andy Reid, but
Andy Reid sticks around
a little bit older, so it's tougher for him. But if they stick around forever, that could probably be the only other combination. So do I think he's the greatest coach of all time? No, but he's definitely top 3, top 5. But I just think if you just look at kind of everything else all encompassing, again, the drafting errors, and now what he's doing without Brady, I mean, those 2 things speak volumes. Brady proved himself. He said, hey, I'm leaving. And he won a Super Bowl his first year with a mediocre team the year before. Granted, they obviously improved a lot when him coming, but he did everything. He showed all the doubters and all that. Yeah, this is me. So Belichick hasn't done that. He hasn't won without Brady. His record without him is under 500. Granted,
he did make it to the playoffs that year, right? Didn't he make it to the playoffs in like an 8-8 season or something?
We watched that live together in Indianapolis when we had our brain trust, and they got murderated.
That was pathetic.
The Bills didn't punt. But yeah, I think they scored on every possession. But anyway.
So here's the difference, I think, between him and like the Mahomes, Andy Reid situation. Mahomes and Reid are kind of like two offensive geniuses. You know, Mahomes, I don't know if you watched that quarterback documentary on Netflix.
I need to.
I finally got to it and I buzzed through it, and it's really, really fascinating. It's a really good, it covers three like very different stories. You got Marcus Mariota going to Atlanta. And so you've got this like veteran on a new team that has a rookie that they're trying to build up. And so you watch that journey and you see him like kind of lose his job. And then like the drama that unfolded after that. You got Kirk Cousins, who's like this rock solid top half quarterback, but not elite, but like really good. Just comes to work, blue collar kind of guy. And then you've got Mahomes, who's like baby goat, who's like out there wheeling and dealing. And it's three very different stories, but it's very interesting. But he and Reid are just like, they're not like mind meld necessarily, but they're both brilliant at what they do.
I also feel like they're
offensively brilliant. Yeah. Belichick is maybe the greatest defensive mind ever, and that I think will be his legacy.
Yeah.
Whereas Brady was a quarterback, so like that worked because they took care of different sides of the ball. Reid and Mahomes are like, we're going to score 50 every game. And hopefully someone can come in here and help us with our defense because like we're going.
We're going to. I also feel like they're best friends. Like you just kind of look at how they
Reid and Mahomes.
Yeah, I just feel like
they are buddies. Yeah,
hanging out. Whereas Belichick and Bray, no, they are not best friends.
No talking. No talking at all.
Don't talk to me ever outside of the office.
I hear you.
Anyway,
but yeah, the Patriots suck.
I think
kind of as a non-Patriots fan, it's kind of fun to watch actually because I'm just like, thank God.
I'm sure everyone in the NFL loves this. That
it's like Alabama dropping out of the top 10. You're just kind of like, whoa, how about that?
Yeah, I can't complain. I've had 20 years of greatness, so I'm done for life. Like I can't say anything. Like, yeah, we suck, but it's like, shut up.
If it never comes back, you've had the glory days.
Yeah, exactly.
You've had enough Super Bowls for your lifetime.
I really have. It's 6. I can deal with that. But so yes, I think Bill should be done. Just Patriots should just complete rebuild, start over, actually figure out how to draft, and start with Caleb Williams. Let's just do that.
They may end up starting with Caleb Williams. They need to hire McVay and start with Caleb Williams, and then see what happens there.
Wow,
that would be lit.
That would be something.
That would be lit.
That would be something. Okay. Enough about Bill Belichick and the Patriots. We suck, but I figure. Well, first of all, welcome back. You were gone last week. So big thank you to Adam Barr for stepping into your big shoes. He did a great job last week. Great conversation. Big Browns fan. I don't know if you heard all of it, but he is a diehard man. So it's kind of fun to see. We've obviously had Jason on the show, big Detroit Lions guy. Now we had Adam on, who is a big Cleveland guy. So
have these like self-loathing friends.
Right?
I don't know where these people come from the woodworks. I thought you guys. I did listen to the podcast while I was in Disney. That's the only podcast I listened to all week. I missed all my other fantasy stuff. I missed all the other stuff I listened to. I was like, oh, he put on a podcast. I was like, I forgot about that. Let me check that out.
I forgot.
Adam did a great job. You did a great job in the host seat. You guys killed it. I heard Bernie Kosar was mentioned in there. I think there's some really random people coming up, so it was a good time.
So, be honest, were you upset that I did bust out blind resumes?
I was a little hurt. I thought that was our thing. I thought that was our special thing. But I was also kind of like, either you screwed it up or we're not far enough in the season, because he picked like the stars every time.
He did pick the stars.
The point is you're supposed to pick Josh Dobbs instead of Trevor Lawrence. It
was actually kind of difficult to do it this time. I know it was only 6 weeks into the season, or 5 weeks at the time, so there hasn't been as much separation. But I think that's also kind of the fun thing in the beginning, because again, Josh Dobbs is a top 10 quarterback right now, and he was above Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, I think he just kind of got lucky. Adam, that's right, you got lucky.
He got lucky
picking the big name. So because again, it was Josh Dobbs, Trevor Lawrence. It was Derrick Henry, and who was the other guy? I don't even remember. But yeah, it was wild that he did pick all the big names.
You probably should have set him up with like stat lines that you knew were more favorable, not by like 40 points, but by like 15 maybe. True. And then like make him pick, and then be like, yeah,
you have to pick
Derrick Henry. Yeah. You took Chuba Hubbard. How about that?
True.
So yeah, that was great job. Well done by everyone.
Thanks, Adam. But yes, you're back now. And I think, so obviously we've talked about our league a lot. We talked about, obviously, Adam and I talked about our neighborhood league some. But you and I started something new this year. And actually, I'm saying like I started it. I joined it. You and your boy Curtis started this Dynasty League. So, we always talk about our standard one, but this is something I have never done. So,
Yeah.
have you done Dynasty before? And kind of give a quick rundown on how it works.
So I have never done Dynasty either. This is my first year doing it. Curtis and we worked together 15 years ago, and for like 9 years, so we became pretty close. He's a diehard fantasy player as well, and so we always shoot back and forth. Hey, would you do this deal? Would you do that?
Yeah.
And we've always said, hey, we want to start a new league, but we want it to either be like super flex, which is where you can flex a quarterback, which means basically like a 2-quarterback league, or we want to do like a big keeper league where you keep a bunch of players. And finally this year, we're just kind of like, I think we listened to a lot of the same podcasts too. And one of them started a Dynasty podcast, like a spinoff.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're kind of like, we need to do a Dynasty league. And he's like, let's do it. Let's do it. Find 5 guys, on your half. I'll find 5 on my half. Let's bring them together. Find guys that are going to commit to it. They're going to be all in on it. And let's do it. Let's do a startup Dynasty draft. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it took like
the draft took a week, a legit.
The draft took a full week. It was a long time, but it was like middle of summer, like whatever.
Yeah.
It was, a lot of research. I did a lot of research to figure out like how many players should you have? What should the roster construction look like? What should your lineups look like? Do you have an IR? Or how many slots do you have? They've got things like taxi squad where you've got like players that you are basically putting in like a red shirt almost. Like if you draft a rookie class, we may institute this next year. You put them on a taxi squad, which means they can't start in your lineup at any point during the year. You have to elevate them to your main roster. It's like a practice squad kind of. And once you elevate them, you can't send them back to the taxi squad. So that's like a way to draft new rookies that aren't yet starting in the NFL. You're not going to play them yet, but you want to have them on your team. Like there's all these different dynamics that go into a Dynasty league.
Yeah.
And
I think
including the platforms, which are all over the place too.
So I think I was greatly unprepared and didn't, I guess, understand I don't think fully grasped the strategy around it. So I'm going to tell you kind of what I thought going into this draft. So the draft was awesome just because there are 10 of us, but obviously we're all literally across the country, and it's not, since it's a Dynasty, it's a lot more thinking involved. So it was great. We were all on a 10-person text chain, and we basically said, you just text in your pick. Yep. And then you basically, the next person has a couple hours, or, I mean, we were gracious. We didn't have an official timer, but, after like 4 or 5 hours, to be like, hello.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. So I think it was probably an average. Probably the average is about an hour, right? Wouldn't you say?
Because some of them blazed out pretty quickly, and then several of them would take like 6 hours, and we're like, where did Drader go?
Yeah, a lot of it I feel like was Drader. So coming into it, I don't think I did enough research, but because I'll be first and foremost, my team is terrible and I am sucking. I am currently, I think, in second to last place, if not last. I am 1-5. He's looking it up right now. I see his eyes shifting.
I got you.
For that.
Don't worry.
So
you're in last place.
I'm in last. I was in 9th until this past week. So I didn't know how much to rely on, like going young, just young, or wait a second, actually play for this year as well. So it was interesting, like, in a typical league, you don't draft quarterbacks except for like the top 2 until 4th round, 5th round, 6th round. Here, the first 5 picks were quarterbacks, because obviously the thought with Dynasty is you're going to have these guys for years and years and years. So I think you had the first pick. Did you not?
Yes, but let me caveat real quick. Like, it's also a super flex.
Right. Which also is something I've never done before.
Which I'd never done a league that was a super flex either. But you start 2 quarterbacks pretty much every week. You can start any offensive position in that super flex position, but quarterbacks tend to score the most in fantasy, so you're going to start a quarterback. And so if you have 2 good quarterbacks, that's your goal, right?
Right.
So everyone's jumping immediately on quarterbacks. First 5 picks were all quarterbacks. I ended up getting the first pick. We did that 100-yard dash, which was hilarious. Yeah. I ended up winning the first pick and took Mahomes immediately, because it's like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Like, those are the first 5 picks. Those are the obvious first picks. These are young guys. They've got a lot of runway left. You got maybe 10 more years plus of a career, and they're superstars. And you can start them in one of those 2 quarterback positions. So you just no brainer, go for it.
Set it, forget it. Even during their bye week, play him. So I had the 4th pick, and I went with Joe Burrow. So again, thinking set for life, but he has struggled mightily this year, obviously with the calf injury right before freaking training camp, or right as training camp started. So that has attributed to my slow start. But then also, after that, I don't know what your strategy was. Like, I was foolish and I waited a long time on my next quarterback. So I don't know if that hurt me right away. But then again, I wasn't sure how much emphasis I should be putting on the young factor, and I think that also hampered me a little bit, just because I didn't take like a Tyreek Hill when I had the chance, in like the 4th or 5th round, just because like, oh, he's like 29 or 30 and he says he's going to retire in a year or two. I don't need him. I don't want him on my team. Let me get T. Higgins. He's young. So like,
which in most years T. Higgins is a superstar. This year he's just been total garbage. But like that was a good pick from he's young and he's a star.
And he's with Joe Burrow.
Those are your perfect receivers. Yeah, and you got Joe Burrow already. Like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson were like first-round picks because they're young and superstars. So that makes sense. T. Higgins, I think, is a great pick. But to your point about Tyreek Hill, like, I don't remember what round he went, but it was at least the 3rd before he went off the board.
Well,
and you knew you're going to get a couple years of superstardom, but then you're done. And so you're kind of like, well, do I play for now? Do I play for later? That is the ultimate balance you have to strike in Dynasty.
Well, it was wild too, because I think I played against Tyreek Hill last week, and I was looking to see him like, he also has Jamar Chase. How did this happen? So,
and CD Lamb. That's how I know he was at least a 3rd rounder, because he took Chase and CD Lamb on the return, which was a killer. And for him to get those two and Tyreek, I was like, that's a killer wide receiver room. That is incredible wide receiver room.
It was killer. So I started going young early. So I got like a Joe Burrow. I have a T. Higgins. I got a Tony Pollard, which I was happy about. And so I was like, 3 good young guys. But then I think I started to stray a little bit from that, because then I went with like a Derrick Henry, who I thought, wait, I can also play for now. And so that's when I started to get back on that train. And I got like a Debo. And so I don't think I committed enough to one or the other. I kept like kind of jumping back and forth. So my team's a little hodgepodge and clearly not doing well. But I think overall I'm pretty young, which is good.
You're very young. Your team is very young.
Except, I'm very young.
You have a couple of older guys, but like I would say that you skewed too far young if you're going to say one or the other. And it's not too far like you're screwed forever, because in a couple of years this team could be amazing, but it's such a question mark, and the league changes so quickly, and players retire and get career-ending injuries and trade teams, and they're irrelevant. And like, how many players have you seen be a flash in the pan for a year or two and then they're gone? And like, so that's the difficulty with skewing young, is because you're taking a lot of gambles.
And people aren't, as you said, teams aren't afraid to move on from those young guys. Like, oh, nope, you're done. See you later. Like, you had your shot.
It's just
like
not
Jalen Reagor coming out like 1st round pick. He's going to be 3 years. He's like done in the league. Like, you're gone.
He's done. Yeah. He's returning punts now and not very good at it. Like that's exactly right. That's a great example.
Like, I have a Jackson Smith-Njigba, and so at the time, everyone's like, oh, that was a great pick. At that time, I was like, yes, from where I got him, I was loving that pick. This year, he's not doing anything, which he's a young guy. He obviously already has DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett ahead of him, and Geno Smith has taken a half step back. But, it worries me a tiny bit. Is he going to be a Jalen Reagor, where he's a 1st-round pick, a receiver, had a great college career, but doesn't make the next jump? So I got a couple guys like that. Like, I have a Quentin Johnston on the Chargers, another young guy.
Those are 2 great picks in a dynasty. You would think that's like that. I thought you got out of draft. I was like, damn, you got 2 of the hottest rookie receivers you can get.
No, I was jacked to get them, but again, they're not helping me this year, which is fine. Yeah. I just need to fully lean into that fact that, okay, I'm not, well, clearly at this point of the year, I am not playing for this year. Yeah. I honestly thought at the beginning of the season I could be, especially with like a Derrick Henry. I also had like a James Conner, who's just like a good points guy. Everyone was mocking me. I think you helped me make that pick. Everyone was mocking me when I picked him. I was like, when he plays, like, I know I'll have him for a year or two, but when he plays, he's solid. Like, he's going to get me 15 points or whatever.
He's a top 15 running back when he plays, and he gets hurt every year, but only maybe for a few games. And like, he'll be back, and he's a top 15 play. And again, if you're trying to win any games this year, like, you need to score some points, right?
Right. So, and maybe we'll do this right now. So I'm in a position right now where I'm 1-5, and probably 6 more games left, 7 more games left. I'm done for this year, clearly. Dynasty is interesting because now I can start making some moves for my future. And you and I have been in discussions already about said moves because you have a great team overall. Like you have one of the highest scoring teams right now. Your record doesn't show it, but you have a team that's for now and for the future, which is great. And you are in the position where you are trying to make a playoff push. And so you and I have been in talks where I might unload a vet for a pick, which
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I need to do because it's not like they're going to be helping me right now. So maybe we can figure this out right here, man.
Maybe we can do it. So
get
here's
a
the
couple wins.
situation. My strategy, just to kind of follow up on what you were saying, your strategy was my strategy, unfounded as well. Have not played before, but I listened
Yeah.
to some pods about it and read a little bit about it, and was kind of like, okay, here's what I'm going to try and do. It was easy having the first pick and just being like, Mahomes, easy.
Done. See
You
you in
can't screw that
5
up.
hours.
But after that, to your point, like I was very cognizant of the quarterback run, making sure that I got a second guy. Now, I didn't
Yeah.
get a superstar by any stretch. I ended up getting Russell Wilson, who I personally had faith in rebounding with Sean Payton, at least to the point where I was like, there's a possibility he steps up and he becomes another top 10 quarterback like he used to be. He
But
hasn't
here's
been
the
top
thing.
10, but he's close. I mean, he's been pretty good.
I was gonna say,
Other than this
fantasy
past
wise,
week.
he has. I think he's the third most passing touchdowns in the league.
Yeah,
Like a
he's
quiet
been really good other
weird
than this
number.
past week. He's been a great QB2 other than this past week. And then what I thought was one of the steals of the draft, much later in the draft, I grabbed Kyler Murray, who obviously is going to miss a bunch of time. And then there were rumors like he may not play at all this year because they're tanking for Caleb Williams.
Right.
And then they're like, well, but they still, like, it's a new coaching staff. Like, they want to see for sure if Kyler Murray is like the
Right.
future. They've got him locked in for like 4 years or something.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they've got to at least see if it's a fit before they totally move on. And either way, if they don't keep him, I feel like he's going to land somewhere else and be a starter. He's a top half starting quarterback, I think. So,
And young.
especially
The fact that he's
for
so
fantasy,
young.
he is young. He's 26 years old. So, especially for fantasy, I think he's a great quarterback. So, I've got him on my one of my IR slots, just hanging out there. And as soon as he comes back, I feel like I'll have Mahomes and him would be a killer combo. But yeah, I have a really good blend. I think I kind of lucked out, really. Like, I have a really good blend of current starters and future players. Like, I remember in the draft back at the turn when it came back to me, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I love, of course.
Love him.
Young dude, superstar, and Christian McCaffrey, who everyone else just didn't take. And I was like, he's only 28. Like, he's not done this year. He's probably got another couple years. And also, he's a freaking he can win your league by himself, I was like, so why would you not at least it's almost like everyone had the same mentality of like only playing for the future. And I was like,
Right.
well, then I'll take McCaffrey.
Then I'll
2
win it
rounds
now.
later, I get Austin Eckler as well. I was like, this is in the 5th round. I got Austin Eckler. I'm like, what are you people doing? People are taking like
T. Higgins, man. I was worried about that.
Higgins and Zach Charbonnet, I think, was taken before Austin Eckler. It was like, okay, like at some point you're getting too cute,
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then like it was, I think the 7th, 8th, maybe I got Amari Cooper and Brandon Ayuk, who's only like 25 years old and is a star. And I was like, I don't know. It kind of fell to me really well, to the point where I think I did really well in the draft. And I ended up with a bunch of depth on my bench, and I've got a bunch of backups, which I've got handcuffs for some of the running backs I have, like DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell, and Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Like I've got good backups there too, to where if injuries happen, I'm fine, and if a player ages out and a new guy comes in, I'm kind of fine there too. So I've got some wiggle room to play with there. But to your point, like future picks, I think I have a young enough team right now that like the next year or two, I've probably got some play with my draft picks.
Yeah.
And so you've got some guys like Derrick Henry, for instance, we've talked about, where it's like he could help me this year for sure. I don't know about next year. I don't even know if he'll be playing. And if he is he going to be like like a Zeke Elliott type to Ramondre, where he's kind of just comes in and vultures some touchdowns, but he's not super reliable. I don't know what the future holds for him, but for this year, he can help me.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's why we're kind of looking at like draft picks for people like Derrick Henry. You talked about Mike Evans, as someone you mentioned too, who's kind of in the same boat where like receivers tend to have a longer shelf life, but like the big guys don't usually last as long. It's usually the speed guys that last longer. So I don't know how much I trust Mike Evans in the future, so that's what we've been kind of dishing back and forth.
Yeah, so I'm definitely playing or looking for a first round pick, just because one, I know based on my record, I'm going to have a good first round pick. Probably
You're gonna have a high one, yeah.
I'm gonna have a good one. Probably top 3 at the rate it's going. And I would love to be in the Bears situation where I have if I have the top 2 picks in the draft. It could literally be the same 2 picks. Like they pick the same 2, and then I'll pick.
You're taking Caleb Williams and Drake May.
So yeah, I'm definitely, because as I said, I waited on quarterbacks too long, and it was funny because every time I was about to get one, literally the guy or 2 before me would take it. And I'm like, okay, well now I'm not really jazzed about anyone. I'll just wait again. And I'm like, okay, I got my next name. Bump. I'm like, shit. So unfortunately for me, these are my other quarterbacks. So I obviously have Joe Burrow, who's obviously struggling this year, but again, I'm happy for the future with him.
He'll be fine. Yeah, he'll be fine.
Jones. I want to vomit because I'm about to say these 2 names, and people are just like, "Why are you even in this league?" I have Ryan Tannehill and Mac Jones. So at the time, I was like, with Ryan Tannehill, I was like, I need a starter. He's a starter, and he's fine. He's fine. No,
he has been good in the past. He's been decent in the past,
And then with Mac Jones, I did expect him not to be as bad as he was last season. He had a great rookie year, obviously dropped tons last season, and then I thought he was going to take a big step forward. The Patriots just decided, no, let's screw Ethan and say, let's not have a good year.
After week 1, you were like, this is going to work.
Of course, I didn't play.
Work. He threw the ball 55 times or whatever. You're like, this is going to work.
3 touchdowns. He was looking great. I was like, he's back. He's back. If not, they are not back. They are probably going to be moving on from him. So anyway, my quarterbacks are struggling. So I would definitely love a Caleb Williams, and I'm eyeing that. Although he keeps flirting with this idea he's not going to declare for the draft. Like, I hate that,
bro. He's coming.
Caleb, I'm playing for you this year, so I need you to
listen to this podcast. Okay, we're going to send it to him. He's going to listen.
So yes, I'm obviously looking for a pick. I would love a first rounder. I just thrown out to you because you said Derrick Henry. I was like, first rounder for Derrick Henry, because your pick is not going to be a great first round pick, because even though you're only 3-3 right now, you are not a 3-3 team. You are not a 500 team. You are a top 3 team.
I have the third. I'm very close to the top points in the league, but I'm third in points in the league and far and away the most points against.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm 3-3, but my points will vault me as the season goes on, and that kind of levels out.
So I'm on your pick is probably, we have 10 teams in this league. Yours is either going to be like 7, 8, 9, 10, which, it's still a first rounder, but I don't know why. I'm loving Brock Bowers. I hope I get him next year.
Yeah.
I just
tight
love
end.
That guy.
Yeah.
I would take him in the first round like that. Considering
I think a lot of people would. This
Pat.
league's also like a full point PPR for tight ends and half point for everybody else. So it is a tight end premium as well.
So spoiler alert, I'm looking at Brock Bowers.
So I think Brock Bowers will probably be there at my pick, I would think.
Yeah.
So anyway, now you put a name to it. And this is the mind mess of playing Dynasty is you're starting to put a name on who that draft pick's going to be and what they're going to do for your team.
But then this is also what's wild though. You and I were just talking. So there was a trade that just happened in our league, and I think you know it better. But basically, the big name that got traded was Josh Allen. So Josh Allen was traded from a team who was in second to last place. Me and Curtis are at the bottom, and he got draft picks galore.
He got a freaking haul. Yeah,
he got
as he should. It's Josh Allen,
right? It's Josh Allen, but it was something like absurd. A first rounder in 25, a second rounder in 26, and a first in 27. I was like, oh, my brain. So you're telling me I have to look at middle schoolers right now to see who I'm going to be drafting in these years? My God.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
To start studying like the class of 25. What are the prospects? Who are the top prospects that are coming out in a couple years? Who are the top prospects that are freshmen this year coming out in 26 maybe? That's the kind of stuff you have to start thinking about with Dynasty.
Am I already playing for Arch Manning? Like, should I be tanking for 27 or what? God.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's starting to hurt my brain a little bit. So that's why I'm just looking at next year's drafts. So that's why I would love your first rounder, man. So listener, let's go with Derrick Henry. Let's go with Derrick Henry for first rounder.
Hang on. You've already offered Derrick Henry and Mike Evans for a first, and I'm wavering on that.
Which I think that's a good deal, man.
It is a good deal if I'm playing for right now.
Which you are.
Evans makes me nervous, honestly, because I've not been a believer of his. I know he's been good. I've just not been a huge fan of his in general. But I tried to then throw in like maybe we throw in a second as well, and then you bring JSN in, who I know you're nervous about, but was a highly touted rookie.
Yeah, I am nervous about bringing him in. I did see you text me late last night saying that. Why don't you throw in JSN? We can do that. That'd be good. How about what if I throw in my third rounder?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna. We should not answer this on the air.
That's true. We should not. We should not.
Whatever it is, we should not answer this on the air. We will give an update next week. Though.
Yes,
we'll have an answer by then, I think.
But basically, I'm playing for the future. Kemper's playing for right now and the future still. So it is kind of an interesting dynamic, it's interesting too. Dynasty is just such a different beast, and it's so weird. It's a different mindset because go to our other league and it's completely different. Like I'm 5-1 in that league. Here I'm 1-5. It's just like completely reversed. And same for you. Like you're obviously struggling in our other league, but here in the Dynasty, you're set up perfectly. So it's just wild, and
it's tough to draft that many different types of leagues. I've had that problem even drafting like a half-point PPR with a bunch of old guys on CBS's platform versus full-point PPR Yahoo with my college buddies. Like even that's totally different strategies. And this Dynasty thing, we have 30-man rosters in Dynasty. 30 people in a roster.
I'm not gonna lie. Towards the end of the draft, I didn't even know who I was picking. I was like, okay, I've got the 4th string quarterback on the Saints. Okay.
You did pull a legendary move. We were on our fishing trip in Charlotte. You're like, all right, the next guy who scores a touchdown, I'm picking him up on my Dynasty team. He's all backups in the preseason. All right. And it was the Colts, and Jawan Winfrey catches the touchdown. You're like, all right. And you dropped somebody who I'd heard of and picked up Jawan Winfrey. It was like, he's on your Dynasty team now because you have 30 people on your roster.
And the best part is you looked it up. He is no longer in the NFL. So
he is back. They just signed him. They just signed him back to the active roster. He was on a practice squad for a while. They cut him, and now he's been signed to the active roster, which is like a double jump. So he's back.
He's back.
He's coming in. Look out.
Love it. He's going to be jumping into my starting lineup here pretty soon.
He might need to, honestly.
Yeah. I need a jump start. Send a message to the vets. Say, no, your job is not safe. Watch out for these young guns. So yeah, it'll be fun to see that. We'll update you on our trade. We are going to figure it out. It's just kind of getting into the weeds a little bit here, but we will figure this out. So yeah, man, it's wild. It's different. It's fun. My brain is starting to hurt just thinking about all the years in the future, but
you can do it. You can do it.
So until next time, keep on folding.
Fold it.